So one time after we would watch that, we had said, oh, this was like 2 years ago. We were like, oh, okay, we're gonna do this, and then we'd be like, and we're back to day one. Oops. So then it's like, and Sid's will be at day one.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy. But you're here.
I misread the clock. I thought it was like 5:30. It's time to leave.
Oh, God.
Oh, you made it. Did you?
Yeah.
We went to that. No, but then there's discussion and questions after.
Yeah.
We're not taking a break.
Rita, this is such a cute photo. Thank you. How are you?
You don't have to get it.
I know.
I'm going to have an announcement for somebody.
You switched seats. I saw you. Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's so nice to say good evening. I usually will say good morning, but welcome to our very first Power Talks of the Heart.
I think everybody
Right.
knows this pretty much.
Yeah,
But
if you don't, this is Reverend Rita, Reverend Patrick.
Yeah, and you're at CSL Kauai. So
Yes.
if you've never been here before, you might not know where the bathrooms are. We're going to be going straight through the evening, so if you have to go to the restroom, they are straight out the back door. And are they open, Ron?
And our wonderful bodyguard,
Right. Yeah,
Ron
Ron will help
Stover,
you
will
if
be
you
there
need it.
to make sure that you are safe.
Yes, we want to let you know that love donations are gratefully accepted. It helps support evenings like tonight. And that the views, I have a disclaimer,
Of
the
our
views of the
speakers.
speakers are not necessarily the beliefs of CSL Kauai or Science of Mind and Spirit.
We have never done that, and we've always wanted to, by the way. Because people will say, I never knew. Neither did we.
So we wanted them to have the freedom to, how this originated was that we gave them a topic, which tonight is Paradise is a State of Mind, and they're allowed to speak on that any way that resonates to them. So we don't know even what's going to come out of their mouths. We didn't have any rehearsals or anything, although they've been rehearsing.
But it's called Cover Yourself.
And there will be a brief discussion after we're done, and we're not going to go anywhere for that discussion. We're just going to sit in our chairs here, and it will be, we want to get everybody out of here by 8 o'clock. So it'll be just a matter of like if you have any questions or something that
Or something
resonated
came
to
up
you
for
or
you
something came
during
up
it.
to you for you or something, or if you have questions for the speakers.
Then I have my cell phone in my hand, which reminds us to all turn our cell phones down or off, and I always forget that too. I'm just on top of it.
And then just a couple of things that,
Announcements?
yeah, we have a couple of announcements. We're starting a foundations class next Wednesday night from 6:30 to 8:30. All the information's back there. And we also have a meditation coming up on September 18th with Reverend Diane. Will be an evening of meditation from 6:30 to 7:30. And that's it, I think, right?
That's it.
So before we start, though, we do want to take a moment, since it's September 11th, just to take a moment of silence for a day that's very important in our history and a day that we don't want to forget. And just to especially take a moment of silence for the lives that were lost and for the people still that are mourning that we can just send our peace and love to them. So let's just take a moment of silence. So in this moment, I just recognize that the peace and presence of the divine is right where we are, no matter where we are, and that it's always there. And I claim and know peace and comfort for those who are left behind and those that have continued their journey on. I know that everyone is in the hands of grace right here and right now. And I recognize that peace is something that starts within me and within each and every person here. And I know that as we feel that peace and allow that peace to resonate in our hearts, that we can send that ripple effect out into the world and into our experience. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful to be here tonight for this exploration of this idea of paradise as a state of mind. And I know and claim that everything that's spoken here is heard with whatever is needed to be heard, with the right ears for the person listening. And that there are messages and things that transpire tonight that are enlightening and inspiring. And I bless the speakers, knowing that they are exactly where they need to be, saying exactly what they need to say, and that everything in this evening is flowing perfectly. So I'm grateful for that. And I just take this word I've spoken and allow it to just be released now into universal law, knowing that it is done as we affirm it together. And so it is. So thank you for being here tonight again. And our first speaker tonight is Charles Woolfork. And Charles is the athletic director at the Island School, and that's all I'm going to say about him. Okay, the stage is yours, Charles.
How's everybody doing tonight? Good. The brilliant writer and influencer, Dr. Wayne Dyer, said, if you change the way you look at things, then the things you look at change. I ask, are your glasses half empty or half full? Is your life full of bullshit or blessings? Life for me is all G because I focus on 5 Gs. I'm not talking about data from Verizon. I'm talking about grounded, gratitude, giving, grinding, and growing. When I put all my efforts towards those 4 Gs, it hits the same lettered Gs, or the same lettered spot, but we're trying to keep it G-rated. Grounded. Let's take a deep breath. Everyone close your eyes. Inhale. Now exhale. One more time. Inhale. Now exhale. Being grounded is so important. Life throws things at you like a monkey with a handful of crap. That's why it is so important to get connected back to source as much as possible. Meditating used to suck for me. My mind would tell me that I had to do something else except sit down and be still. However, that's what I always need. Meditating doesn't have to be chanting with our eyes closed. It can be writing, creating, going for a walk. We all need that time to become grounded. And just remember, we need to remember that we are an essence, or we are an essential part of the universe. We are loved. We are lovable. Not because what we do, but simply because who we are. Now I close my eyes and I set my intentions of love onto the world. Lord knows we need a whole lot of love right now. Love shoots from my body and shines upon the island and the world. I focus on forgiveness. I plant those seeds of good energy, and it makes me grounded like the seeds for a tropical oasis. Gratitude. I'm grateful to be from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm grateful to be almost 32, October 28th, for anybody who wants to buy a present. I'm grateful to be an athletic director at Island School. I'm grateful to be a son, and And I'm grateful that I was the brother to Christopher Woolfolk. He was 22 years old when he died of cancer. I watched as a healthy-ish young man slowly deteriorated into someone that was unrecognizable. I watched the energy of his being leave his body and fill the hospital room like the aroma of a Yankee candle. Right then and there, I realized I have nothing to complain about. My heart beats with the rhythm of a sweet song. My eyes see the sunsets and rainbows. My mind thinks of silly little things that make me giggle to myself. I get to see another day. I get to make another moment great. We all do. We can choose to be grateful for every breath and every fresh, precious moment when we're not in a box. I appreciate everything now. I give thanks and gratitude for my scabs that work without my focus. I give thanks that the sun and the moon are just far and close enough to allow us to live on this gorgeous planet. I give thanks that someone loves me, that this whole room of people always show me love. I'm grateful that I get to love everyone I come into contact with, whether it be a kiss on the cheek or a smile in the street. I count my blessings big and small, and it keeps me in a beautiful state of mind, in a beautiful state of being. The attitude of gratitude keeps me at a high latitude. Giving. The amazing entrepreneur and philosopher Jim Rohn said, "Giving is the first step in the receiving process." Who in here has ever heard that it is better to give than to receive? We can vibrate at the frequency of the divine on a consistent basis. It all starts by giving with the intention of love. You can't get no higher if you were to fly on Hawaiian Airlines. Love. Giving unconditional love has had the best benefits in my life. I have had the amazing opportunity to meet like-minded people. The blessings I give return back to me tenfold. I get to meet all of you guys in this room. I get to just have the blessings of being in this amazing place, having an amazing job, waking up and knowing that my heart beats and my mind thinks another day. The blessings, most of all, I get to close my eyes at night and count the blessings I distributed that day. I get to say to myself that I contributed to someone's life today. I get to say to myself that I am a great person because that someone had me in their life for that moment. And there's no better feeling than executing at being a blessing and giving folks a reason to smile. It's always better to give than to receive. When you focus on how you can give more than what you can receive, life is like sitting in a beach chair. Grinding, sorry. I give gratitude at the opportunity to give. My primary way to give back to the world and distributing love is by teaching. I'm good at it. I attract the attention and love of students like cars to Kaua'i traffic. The creator, the universe, or whatever you want to call it, it has blessed me with this gift. Now it's time to do it with all my heart and soul. It's time to grind. I'm ready to distribute knowledge and love better than your best teacher. Any student in my class is going to be blanketed with my essence. They're going to feel appreciated. Those students that are lucky enough to be in my class will love the experience that I prepared for them. However, it doesn't just stop in academia. I'm not going to merely support them in one realm. I'm going to go to every game, every performance, every rodeo, and watch any event that they participate in. I'm going to let them know that I'm their biggest fan. I will scream at the top of my lungs like, yeah! Sorry, Rob. When you know you are good at something that serves, you make sure that you work your face off. Then you will have no regrets. You don't look back and say, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. You can lay on your deathbed with a smile, knowing that you always made sure the juice was worth the squeeze because you grinded. Growing. The outstanding speaker, Tony Robbins, said, if you don't grow, you die. We work like everything else in nature. We can grow and bear fruit, or we can stay stagnant and rot. Every day I am alive, I choose to get better. It's always the question of how can I give more? How can I serve the world and myself in a better way? Who and how can I love more? Personal development is a constant journey. If your heart and mind are working properly, then you can fully utilize your soul. Heck, Helen Keller showed us that the mind part is optional. Ask yourself, what can I learn today? How can I challenge myself today? The mission to get better has put me in a mindset where I'm not looking at any failures. I'm seeing the feedback from mishaps and building upon those until I win. For me, it makes life satisfying as a cold drink by the water. The famous writer, poet, and philanthropist, Snoop Dogg, said, it ain't nothing but a G thing, baby. I agree. The 5 G's made my doubts, worries, and regret as minimal as a G string. Gratitude, giving, grinding, growing. There was another one in there. Focusing on these 5 G's make life better than the bottom of a waterfall. The only G left for me to do is go.
Thank you, Charles. Wow, this is fun. Not knowing what someone's going to say is really fun for Patrick and I. We're good. Okay, so our next wonderful speaker is Reverend Walt Weiss. And Walt, whoever doesn't know this, he's a divine science minister, but he is also the spiritual and bereavement care coordinator at Kauai Hospice. So I'm anxious to hear him tonight. Yay.
Well, forgive me, I'm going to just go rewrite everything so I can get it to, have alliteration. But let me just get my timer going here, and we'll be all set. I just want to say, first of all, how grateful I am to be given this opportunity tonight. It is a humbling experience to be handed this microphone and to be in such great company tonight. I was reminded of the sermon I preached after my ordination. It was filled with theological concepts, and I must have had 25 verses of scripture. And I thought I really nailed it because I managed to squeeze into 15 minutes everything that I had learned in seminary. Okay. My senior pastor, well, he wasn't so impressed. He didn't find fault in anything I said theologically or the manner in which I delivered it. He just said, well, if you want to be a better preacher, you need to make it personal. You need to let people know how theology has impacted your life. And this is what Rita and Patrick do so well every Sunday. They are transparent and honest and a true blessing. And so I will endeavor to accomplish a little of that tonight. I'm very much a work in progress. And by no means have I arrived at my final destination. But what I am learning has changed my life for the good and changed it forever. And another traffic analogy here. Sometimes I feel like I am just cruising right on in to CSL, nonstop. And then other times I feel like I'm in the bypass, backed up in traffic, wondering if I'm ever going to get there. And I think that's kind of an analogy of my spiritual life. We live on Kauai, the most beautiful and spirit-filled place, I think, on Earth. I arrived here in January, but very soon realized that even in a tropical paradise, there were volcanoes and flooding and housing issues and suicide and family discord and death as I worked with hospice. I think that it would have been very easy for me in those first few months to really doubt the wisdom of my decision to move to Kauai. But fortunately, thanks to Glenn and Marion Head, brought me here to Kauai. Actually, they did, because I was supposed to go to the Big Island, and they said, well, why don't you come to Kauai instead? But they also brought me here to CSL Kauai. And I was plunged into, headfirst, science of mind, philosophy. And it is here that I have come to realize that paradise is a state of mind. I see this being made manifest in my own life on a daily basis and lived out in front of me by each and every one of you, week after week. So whether you think that paradise is just a place of beauty and tranquility, or if you think that it's heaven, it really does begin with our minds. Ernest Holmes writes, heaven is within us, and we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. This is not a new concept, and we talk all the time about how science of mind is just kind of a rehashing of a lot of great stuff. But the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, centuries ago, stated, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And I totally concur. But this has not always been the way I have thought. I bought into the depression and unhappiness that I was experiencing as a result of the circumstances in my life. At 55, I broke my left leg in 3 places the very first day of motorcycle safety training class. My father died. I lost my 25-year job in the pharmaceutical industry. My husband attempted suicide and had 7 hospitalizations, eventually leading to our divorce. The economy tanked. Lost almost all of my 401k. The home that we had sold in Manhattan for $1.33 million, by the time I finally got a job, I had $1.37 in my checking account. okay? And my home went into foreclosure. Antidepressants and Valium seemed to be the only solution until I began to read Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, The Secret, Quantum Theology, and it's sometimes why I say that I came to Science of Mind through the back door, because by reading Dyer and Hay long before delving into Nona Brooks, Emma Curtis Hopkins, the Fillmores, and Ernest Holmes, but it was through all of these seemingly negative experiences in my life that as I worked through them and applied the spiritual principles I was learning, that I eventually decided to go on to seminary. Over the years, I've been Catholic, Baptist, Episcopalian, and in between, there's been long periods where I never set foot in a church because I needed to come to grips with the reality of being gay and a person of faith. It was through metropolitan community churches, and specifically Sunshine Cathedral in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, that I was able to reconcile my sexuality and my spirituality. And it was there that I was also exposed to a blend of Christian traditions, New Thought, and specifically divine science. I was ordained to ministry in MCC a week before my 60th birthday, and then 2 years later also ordained as a divine science minister. And with this background, I've long considered myself a progressive Christian, one who has come to the understanding of God through the life and teachings of Jesus. Along the way, my emphasis has become more New Thought as I have combined scriptural teachings, affirmations, divine science principles, and now those of Science of Mind. A couple of examples of how I have tried to live out this concept of paradise is a state of mind is first with my thoughts and then in prayer. And it goes something like this. I can read in Philippians chapter 4, verse 8, where the Apostle Paul writes, "Whatsoever things are true, honest, just, pure, lovely, of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things." And then I affirm, I think more positively, I send out better energy, I attract better and better results. And then divine science teaches me that if I habitually live with thoughts of love, compassion, joy, peace, achievement, and abundance, then such things manifest in my life. And then concluding with Ernest Holmes, who adds, "Drop all negative thoughts from your mind. Do not dwell on adversity, but think plenty into everything. For there is power in the word, meditating on the thing you are doing as being already done, complete and perfect." And then regarding prayer, I can read in Matthew 21, verse 22, "All things whatsoever you shall ask in prayer, believing, you shall receive." And then affirm, "Whatever we perceive, we will receive. Where attention goes, energy flows." Reflecting on divine science teaching that when we pray affirmatively, we must be clear to have an attitude and feeling nature of already experiencing the desired outcome and allow the law of attraction to match our belief. And then, Ernest Holmes adds, "Whatever the mind holds to, firmly believes in, forms a new pattern of thought within its creative mold, as whatever thought is held in the mind tends to outward form in new creations." So I want to give an example of how I've applied those two things and demonstrated in my life this concept of paradise being a state of mind. Most of you who have been here know all the stories about how I got to Kauai, how I got my job, how I got my house, so I'm not going to bore you with that one. I'm going to tell you about what happened when my house went into foreclosure. My husband, of course, wanted me to sell, but it was underwater, so I said, I'm not going to do that. And all my friends were like, just walk away. You know, it's underwater, you just walk away. But I knew that I was supposed to keep that place, you know. There were things I wanted to do. and I had no place else to live. So, so I began to apply these principles. I began to be grateful for what I had. I began to just see good that I had this place to live. And then every night before I would go to bed, I love giving parties. So hopefully you'll get invited to one in my tiny little house here in Kauai. But I loved when I was there to give big parties with 100, 150 people and lots of food and everything. So every night before I would go to sleep, I would imagine the house filled with people and the sound of laughter and music and good times. And that's how I went to sleep every night. And eventually, I got a job, I became a hospice chaplain, I was able to qualify for a mortgage, I was able to get the house out of foreclosure, and eventually I was able to sell it and actually give my ex-husband some money as a result. So that was my demonstration. So in the midst of seeming adversity, I was able to remain at peace and eventually work through to the solution. I saw firsthand that paradise is a state of mind. But I got what I expected. So as I close tonight, I'm going to just talk a little bit about this idea of expectancy. If you haven't noticed, Christmas is coming. If you've been to Ace Hardware, alongside of Halloween, Thanksgiving, way up front is Christmas. And I love Christmas, and it is a holiday that I look to with great expectancy. But, it reminds me of our spiritual journeys. Let us have this same kind of expectancy as we put into practice the science of mind philosophy. There are so many gifts to unwrap. I have peeled back the wrappings on just a few tonight, and I'm still trying to shake them and figure out what's inside, okay? But I look forward to opening these gifts with all of you, expecting only good to be manifest in our lives, and then sharing that good with the world. And just to tie in a little bit with the theme of magic for this month, just my closing quote, there was something in Science of Mind magazine last month. Expectancy speeds progress. Therefore, live in a continual state of expectancy. No matter how much good you are experiencing today, expect greater good tomorrow. Try this magic of expectancy.
Are you having a good time yet? Yeah. Are you inspired? Yay, I am. So our next speaker is the wonderful Judah Freed, who I know is a writer and an author, and also has a book coaching service. Am I correct? And many other talents, I'm sure. But he's here to speak to us tonight. You ready? Let's do it.
16 years old, 1966. Paradise for me is having a driver's license at last. Anyone here ever been to Denver? You know what Colfax Avenue is like? Imagine it in the 60s. So here I am with a car full of my friends driving down Colfax Avenue at 16 years old, and we're looking for hippie chicks. And we're driving, and this car pulls up next to two guys looking pretty rough, and one of them has a pack of cigarettes rolled up in his T-shirt. The other one's wearing a poplin jacket, and they look at us, and we keep going. Next stoplight, they pull up next to us again, and we're getting kind of scared, and they look us over, and this time we roll up the windows and lock the doors. Next stoplight, they pull up next to us one more time, and the guy sitting closest to me reaches in his jacket and pulls out a badge. I pull over. They take us out of the car and they roust us. They are searching the car, they are searching us, they frisk us, they go through everything, the trunk, everything. What are you looking for? You know what we're looking for. Finally, unable to find what they were looking for, they let us go and hands me back my driver's license. So I go, at last, right through a red light. Out of nowhere comes this motorcycle cop who I pull over, and he says, I should give you a ticket, but I just saw what happened. So he says, I just want you to go home. And so I agree to go home. And so I take my license back in my wallet, put my car into gear, and back up into his motorcycle. He tells me to drive home by the back roads, take my friends home, and don't come back to Colfax ever again. So for me, that paradise turned from hell into a playful memory. Well, 50 years later, I'm dealing with cancer. And this time, the cop pulling me over is taking out my bodily organs, and it's came pretty close to killing me. And through Patrick coming to LA and lots of prayers in this community and my own spiritual work and mental work and shadow work and all kinds of other efforts, have had what some would call a miraculous healing. I'm cancer clear now, and I plan to stay this way. But it took discovering that inner state of paradise. Where is the joy? Because it was so easy to go into the darkness and despair and fear and anger and why me and victimhood. God knows I know how to be a victim. And so I've gone through this process. And now here we are in 2018, and we're looking at our world. And I wake up this morning and news is filled with 9/11 and scenes of the buildings cascading down like two inverted mushroom clouds. And we're filled with fears of terrorism and fears of insanity in the White House and fears of, maybe it's insanity on the Supreme Court or corruption there maybe. And just dark, dark, dark news. Where can we find paradise in the midst of all this shadow work? And as I deal with this, I'm thinking to myself, where is the joy? Where is the light within me that can transform this world out here? How can I really help to produce a paradise on earth? Now, I grew up Jewish. And today is the second day of Rosh Hashanah, for those of you who are aware of it. It's the new year. In about a week we have Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement. I always thought it was very strange that the day of saying I'm sorry comes after the Day of New Beginnings. What's that about? And it took me a long time to finally figure out why it happens in that order. What I finally came to is that without that feeling of refreshment and renewal, it's hard to get the faith to say I'm sorry. It's hard to get the faith to be able to say, here's where I screwed up. Here's what I want to do differently. Here's where and how I can make amends. Here's where I can have renewal of spirit. And so that's the process I'm in now. Where can I go within myself to find that light that really illuminates my life? Now, I've been doing a lot of activism in the world. I have, this week I called senators about the Supreme Court decision. I've written blog posts. I've done a lot of various things to try and get people to think about Where are your ethics? Where are your values? What can you do to change the way of the world? And now on the East Coast, they've got a hurricane coming in that might be one of the most devastating hurricanes they've ever had on the East Coast, or, among them. They're comparing to a last hurricane of this scale, like in the 50s. And is that going to be their truth? Are they going to plunge into darkness and chaos and who knows what kind of terrible things? Or are the people there going to be able to find some light within themselves to be able to transform what happens? We recently had a hurricane that looked like it was barreling down on us, didn't we? Now, I was among many of those people who were sitting here visualizing. Remember in the last Harry Potter movie where they put a bubble, an energy bubble over Hogwarts? How many of you were doing that around Kauai? Okay. Well, so now I'm visualizing that around the East Coast. And, a piece of me is sort of snidely saying, well, maybe it'll disrupt Washington. But I really wish that on anyone. What I'd like to see is for people to wake up and have enlightenment, actual enlightenment, feel a connection with spirit in their daily life so they're no longer mistaking beliefs for facts. Faith is powerful. Believe me, I know. But it's not the same as facts, and it's important to have both and find a balance. For me, that balance is part of the keys to paradise. Now, in the Jewish tradition, we don't really have that notion of paradise like they do in Christianity. In Christianity, some aspects of Christianity, they say paradise is that state between heaven and hell. It's where you go, sort of like a purgatory, right? I'm not a Catholic, so I don't know exactly the language, but it's sort of like it's intermediary state. It's not yet divine heaven. It's not yet horrible hell. And yet it's that middle ground. Well, I don't want us to live in that middle ground. I want my state of mind to really be in heaven, whatever language you use for that. I want my state of mind to really be in bliss. I want to be able to actually feel that sweetness at the back of my tongue. I want to be able to actually sense that calm in my belly. I want to be able to really know with my deepest sense of inner knowing what's the truth, what's the highest truth in any given moment. Not always easy. Every day I go up and down. I'm a yo-yo. I may look like a human, but I'm a yo-yo. And the more I string myself along here, the more I sort of lead myself toward the light, whatever label I want to use for it on any given day. And if I can really allow that state of mind to guide me to that inner paradise, then I can start shaping the world. I have a book coming out. I have a client's book coming out that has some publicity behind it. Maybe it'll go somewhere. Maybe it'll matter in the world. All I can do is just go day by day and do the work in front of me, word by word, comma by comma, and try to create the best reality that I can. And if I do this, the little tiny steps, I can find the path to paradise. So it's more than just a state of mind, it's an action. I can't just think my way into it, although that's important. I have to take action. And if I do both of these, both see it clearly with my mind's eye, feel it in my heart with as much gratitude as I can, and really know that it's coming to pass. Everything we learn in affirmative prayer, and I really do it, and I take action, then I believe paradise transforms from just being a state of mind into a state of being on our earth. And I invite you to work with me toward that goal. How's my timing?
I don't know. I didn't time you. It was perfect. He says, how's my timing? I don't know. It was perfect. Wow. All right. This is great. I'm glad we decided to do this. All right. So our last speaker is Michelle LeMay, who is a religious science practitioner. She just received her license. And she also is a tour manager, international tour manager. And as we all know, she's a world traveler. So here she is, Michelle LeMay.
Sri Chinmoy says that paradise is not a place, it's a state of mind. My profession of being in the tourism industry has allowed me to meet and work with literally thousands of people from all over. And it truly still amazes me when some guest can come to Hawaii, or anywhere else for that matter, and be miserable. It's shocking, actually. And unfortunately, they miss it all. They miss the beauty. They miss the sun on their skin. They miss smelling the flowers, trying the food, and missing the people. They miss it all. What they see is traffic, allergies, and humidity. When I take the time to chat with them and to learn a little bit more about them, what I've seen is that they're actually miserable back home, too. They just happen to take themselves with themselves to Hawaii. I know I've been there. And then there are the people who are so incredibly grateful to be here. It's the trip of the lifetime that they have literally been saving for all their lives. They want to smell every flower. They want to taste all the different foods and meet the people. They want to absorb everything that they can just get their hands on, all their senses. They really want to delve into the culture. And when I get to know them, guess what I find out? They're like that at home too. So it wouldn't matter where in the world they are, they would be enjoying themselves, they'd be in awe, and they would be loving where they are. I've been there too. I've been both. Who else has been both at some point in their lives? Absolutely. So what is the most basic differences among these personality types? It's really just their mindset, their perception. And it is a choice, how we choose to see the world. And especially once we know something is true, once we know that paradise is a state of mind, then it's really a choice. And the great thing is that I get to cultivate my mind. I get to cultivate this state of paradise like it's a beautiful garden. We all can. I get to choose what I have in my garden, water it, nurture it. To be able to live in this paradise state of mind, it definitely needs to be nurtured pretty much on a daily. Weeds, which are old thoughts, behaviors, actions, attitudes. You might have a few. I know I have that come up. They need to be pulled out regularly and then replaced with flowers, plants, fruits, something that would flourish and grow. But that takes tending to as well. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that no matter where I go, there I am. And I do believe that paradise is a state of mind if I choose to see it that way. Throughout my many travels, I have heard all too often, why would you want to leave paradise? Why would you want to leave Hawaii and go somewhere else? And where I do agree, Hawaii is paradise and I love being here. If I'm thinking and talking about the outside paradises, there really are millions of them around the world. They're really everywhere if I'm looking for them. And I have one memory that I'd like to share. This time I was taking a tour. I was not guiding it, so I was a guest as well. And I happened to be listening to someone complaining at the morning buffet about their runny eggs. And while it was true, and the eggs were runny, and I didn't really care for them, I found it interesting that that's what they were focusing on, when right outside the windows, we were looking at the pyramids. They kept saying, they just don't cook these like we do at home. Well, no, of course not. We're in Egypt. They're not going to be like from Kansas or Texas or wherever you're from. It's different. That's why we're in Egypt, for it to be different. And while I agreed about the eggs, I definitely chose to look out the window because my childhood dream was unfolding before me. If you are speaking about a paradise as a state of mind, there's actually only one paradise. That's the internal paradise. The one I shared before about the garden and being able to cultivate it. And where I am, I always bring me and my thoughts and my feelings and everything with me. It's my perceptions, it's my thoughts. But if I'm in this paradise state of mind, I can find beauty anywhere, even in the slums of Delhi and the border crossings of Central America. There's always beauty, as long as I choose to look for it. I'd like to read a paragraph. This is our Science of Mind textbook. This is from chapter 18, The Law of Attraction. Ernest Holmes writes, "Everyone automatically attracts to himself just what he is, and we may set it down that wherever we are, however intolerable the situation may be, we are just where we belong. There is no power in the universe but ourselves that can free us. Someone may help us on the road to realization, but substantiality and permanence can come only through the consciousness of our own life and thought. Man must bring himself to the place in mind where there is no misfortune, no calamity, no accident, no trouble, no confusion. Where there is nothing but plenty, peace, power, life, and truth." How does that feel? I'll repeat that. Where there is nothing but plenty, peace, power, life, and truth. He should definitely, daily, declare the truth about himself, realizing that he is reflecting his statements into consciousness and that they will be operated upon by it. Some powerful words, but what does that mean? Well, what it means for me is that whatever I've got going on out here, or in here, is what I'm putting out here. And what I'm putting out here is what shows up in my life. And what's showing up in my life is a reflection of what's happening in here, when we keep it pretty simple. So what are you growing in your garden? What thoughts are you putting out into the universe? For paradise, I believe, is a personal perception. We all have different perceptions created by our own experiences, and our experiences have created our beliefs, and our beliefs are what is running the show in our lives. So what beliefs are you focusing on? What does your paradise look like? Does it always have to be the sunshiny ocean beach? Or perhaps the same sunshiny but mountains and snow? Or could it maybe just be right where your 2 feet are? For I know when I'm not in a paradise state of mind, it's most likely because I'm in the past or I'm worried about the future. But if I'm here right now, it's paradise. So perhaps right now in this room, we're in paradise. If we look at our feet and know that we're right here and right now, I know it's paradise for me, being up here and sharing and talking, looking out and seeing the smiles and the nods and feeling the love and the support. That's paradise. And I can bring that energy in and just feel that coursing through. It feels wonderful. Rajneesh says, "Paradise is within you, in your state of no mind, and hell is also within you, in your very mind." I have experienced both heaven and hell in the same place. As a matter of fact, right here on Kauai. I've definitely had my moments of feeling lost and lots of sadness, literally watching my life fall down around me and not really knowing what I'm going to do. And then I've had my moments of awe and amazement, driving and just turning certain corners, and there's this amazing vista, and being so filled with gratitude that I've lived here all these years and still enjoy it. And sometimes those both happen in the same day. It's the same place, the same person, but it's when I have a different mindset. In Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes teaches that there's only one God, one mind, one source that has created everything, everywhere, all the time. There's literally not a spot where God is not. So if we take that simple premise, and it's only one of many, but if we take that and marry it with the idea that God is only love and that God creates only good for the highest of all, if we put those two together, and when I remember those two things at the same time, I'm definitely in the state of paradise, no matter where I am. So what happens during the times when I'm not feeling paradise? Because as I shared, that happens. And it's a practice to stay in paradise. But when I go out, I know that I can come back. And when I fall off, I can come back in. So what I like to do is dig into my little spiritual tool chest, because I've got many things. I pray. I do spiritual mind treatments. I call out and ask for someone else to do a treatment. I ask for help. I pray. I meditate. I read. Sometimes I go for a walk. Whatever it is that I know that will help support me to switch. Sometimes it's even finding a friend or calling Ron and bitching a little bit. That helps too. But I always know that I'm at choice. And sometimes I want to stay in it for a little bit. There's like, I don't know, something that feels familiar, I think it is. But it doesn't necessarily feel good. So when I remember how good it feels to be in a state of paradise, that usually helps me shift a little bit faster. And it takes that practice. So it's not being perfect. It's not about being in paradise all the time. It's just about having the mindset and the knowingness that I can go to paradise anytime I want. I remember that I'm pulling the weeds, for there are 40 years of weeds, and they do crop up, and that's okay, and I love myself through that too. And then I plant the flowers, the trips, the experiences, the people, the relationships. I plant those in my garden and water them with love. I remember how good it feels to be in paradise. And so the question is, where do you want to live? What paradise do you want to create? For paradise is really only a state of mind.
All right, you take it, honey.
I think we should give them all.
Yeah, let's bring them all up here. Come on up.
Yeah, definitely. We even have you special chairs where the ministers sit on Sundays.
Only three, four. Yeah. We're going to bring some chairs
So,
up and have a little
yeah,
discussion
definitely.
now. Here, you guys. There's another one.
And then we're going to run the stuff around, like the mics and all
Okay.
that stuff.
All right,
It doesn't
so
matter.
This is your opportunity. If you have any questions about these four people or
just
other
what, so if it's
perceptions,
something it did
yeah,
for
something
you,
that came
just-
up for you, anything. Yeah.
You have to pretend to do it because it's like a whole discussion. If we don't have one, then it really won't be a discussion session. But I'm just saying. Oh,
We have lots.
do I have some questions?
Calling you into the principal's
I'm
office.
so glad you could ask. No, I think G-strings are just a wonderful, absolute thing.
One thing that
There's not a place where God is not.
One thing that actually,
Not, I got it. Wow.
sorry, Patrick.
Yes.
No, I was going to say, one of the things that kind of surprised me was how you all brought Science of Mind in. We didn't ask them to do that. We just asked them to give these talks from their point of view. So that was kind of surprising and nice.
Yeah, I
Made
was
me
saying
feel-
with Michelle, she read out of the textbook. I thought, wow, if she was
Well,
still
they
in
all
class,
did.
I'd give her like extra points. But she's already out of class and going into ministerial. So what am I going to do with that one? Yeah. That actually, I was
it was
quite
surprising, right?
Yeah,
A little,
yeah.
yeah.
It wasn't. Yeah.
Anyway, so
Anyone else had some
any things
feedback?
that came up for you, or how you feel about paradise as a state of mind, or anything? You yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm greeting some people that
Oh.
Okay. I
He
thought
was
you-
waving
you
like they
waving.
were on live streaming.
All right.
the only questions going through my mind.
Here.
Why did the Raiders get rid of Khalil Mack?
This might be the wrong group or not, because we have an athletic person here.
Yesterday was simple.
That's right.
Thank you, Emma.
You know, it's difficult to to ask questions because these are your personal experiences, right? I mean, they're just real.
Right.
They're truth, and you're bringing it out to us.
Right.
But I do agree with Rita when she says, I'm not surprised that you brought in the science of mind, because when I come here, that's what I look for. People live in the science of mind, right? And it's amazing to hear how you have used it in your personal experiences, because, you know, with me, at least personally, I'm going through some stuff, and it's like, wow, that is how to use it. You know, because sometimes you don't know how it comes up. You don't know how to use it. How does it manifest? You know, I'm reading it, but how does it manifest? And I'm seeing really that it just does. You just act on it. And I love that. I am so happy to have heard from all four of you.
And I think Emma is right. It's that whole idea that we do sometimes in this teaching, in any teaching that focuses on something positive, it almost gets a bad rap. And I've never understood that. I don't think I ever will. How anyone can. We have relatives that we go there and they just, you know, it's very difficult. They're like, oh my God, the positive people are here. You know, how will, you know, and it's almost like, but what's beautiful about what I'm seeing up here, I mean, these incredible stories of, you know, the lovely from going from the, you know, the cops and when you're 16 to a license to cancer, and still being able to talk about how positive that one can be, everyone here, to be able to still use it. No one's saying that you're walking around with a glaze in your eyes. It's just saying, well, that's not always true. I've seen a few on right on Kauai, but my idea is that this is so beautiful. No one was sitting here. I mean, every single person was not your brother. It goes on and on. Your house and everything that is going on here. I'm sitting here thinking, no one's saying it, but it's saying that there's a way out. That's what I heard from all of you. That life got pretty, you know, shitty, as they say. But they say that, but I'm saying that there is a way out. So thank you. That was one of the biggest messages I got from them. That they weren't saying, oh, and I've always lived this wonderful life. And they said, no, I went there. I got off there and I went back on principle. As our good friend always says, I'm going to go off principle for a minute. I'll be right back. You know, so there you go. Yeah. Anything else? It's not about questioning. It's just about what came up for you is what we're discussing.
Diane.
And thank you for turning on the AC, by the way. Thank you.
I just want to thank you for inspiring me tonight. I know because of the people that I meet in these rooms that we all have stuff in our past, and I love hearing the way you use the science of mind, even before you knew it was the science of mind, to move through situations, and maybe that's what brought you here, you know, when you first walked in the doors, was already being called by this way of living. And telling us about some of these really tough situations in your life and how you move through them. Because all of us move through that kind of stuff at one time or another in our lives, whether we're immersed in this philosophy or just finding our way here. There's always something. And I'm not trying to be negative by saying there's always something, because we're living life. How are we, you know, how are we dealing with what's happening in our world today, or the current storm approaching that coast or this one? You know, how do we deal with it? We use the tools of the science of mind to move these things along so that we can continue to experience paradise in whatever we're doing. So I just want to thank you for inspiring me tonight, and for giving me my spiritual nourishment, and I'll be tithing.
Yeah.
you, Diane.
And thank you, Michelle. Oh, before Michelle, for the egg story was an inspiration for me. How you could be looking at a runny egg and then the pyramids out there. I had such a visual with that I thought, how many times have I in my life been all caught up in it and just like everything's beautiful around me and I can't see it, right? So wow, Luis.
Just want to say I enjoyed all of you very much. And Charles, the 5Gs, I like that very much. And in regards to giving, I've come to understand to realize that when it comes to giving, it's impossible for me to give and not receive. So in other words, they're in the same. Because when I give, I feel good when I'm giving. And then what I get in return, I could get a smile, I get positive vibrations, I get something in return. You know, there's something that I get back. So it's always a good feeling, you know, to give, because then you know you're going to get something back. So thank you.
It was great for me because we didn't know what we were going to be saying up here, so I got to be as much of a spectator as a speaker. But there was so much value that was given by everyone, you know, just with the affirmations and the state of mind and just, you know, fighting through the negativity, you know what I mean, that you were going through was outstanding and it's inspiring. Of course, with you battling and beating cancer through, like you said, your affirmations, your self-work. I mean, goodness gracious, like if you want to battle against cancer, there's no battle that I can't lose. And just with you and just going back to principle, you know, going back to the law of attraction, knowing that I have to go inside in order to make my paradise on the outside. I mean, goodness gracious, thank you, God, all you all for helping me remember that tonight, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Charles.
Do you remember, Michelle, when we first started over at the hotel, we used to have a thing called In the Light. And we'd have people come up and say it. Well, sometimes that's a very dangerous thing to do, to just let people just come up. And, you know, when they start with, when I was 5, you know, and they're 92, we have a long way to go.
2 minutes.
And even though I keep my talks very short, as most of you know, but what I wanted to say about Michelle is that Michelle went through this entire metamorphosis about your touring and how she even had to quit because it was so upsetting to watch people, how do you say it spiritually, bitch all the time. And it really had affected her. And her being. And I remember us giving the comment because she got in there and a lot of the anger came out in her in the light. You didn't even know it, I don't believe at the time. She was just like, and then she did this and then she did this. But tonight to watch you come this full circle, not only through Centers for Spiritual Living, but through her being able to still look at those people that are still doing the same thing. But what I received was how much compassion you have learned, because like she would say, oh yeah, but I've experienced that myself, haven't you? We've all had a runny egg that we focused on to the point of nausea, you know? And so we've all had that, but to watch you, Michelle, it was just beautiful to watch her maturity, your emotional maturity, your spiritual maturity. It was like being parents watching your little girl grow up right in front of our eyes. So that was I just wanted to throw that out. Any other thoughts, feelings, emotions? Sure.
It was really great too. I received a lot from all three of you. We were saying it was like Michelle and the boys. So from the boys, I received a lot. And what was great for me is not knowing what we would each talk about, seeing how different our talks were for the same topic. And I just found that really cool. I just thought that was really neat. And I think that was part of the purpose, was to, see how we all have our own perception. But that even ties into the idea how we all have our own perception. And I'm sure even, with people who are coming, wondering what it was going to be like or how it would be. And so it was really neat to also be a spectator. I like that what Charles said about being a spectator. And one
point that I want to make that ties on to what Patrick was saying that I didn't mention it, but after 4 years of taking a break and going through practitioner, I actually did recently go back to tour managing. And it was amazing to see the difference in myself and to also see that the people who showed up were different.
Wherever you are, there you are. Oh, the whole room went hush. They said, yeah, and I like it also what you were also saying. It's simple to some degree. The actual principle is simple. It's the practicing on a daily, on a moment-to-moment basis, and to be good to yourselves. Through it all, I'm just watching this richness that I had the honor to just, live stream for you on Facebook. But it was just wonderful. My heart is full. Anyone else before we close and do our thing? So next month, just to let you know, we're continuing on, and we have Jonathan and the girls next month, and the topic is, let me see if I can remember, it's Jonathan, Deb Valentina, Natalie, and Reverend Kaya. So it is Jonathan and the boys, and I'd love to give you the date of it, but I don't remember it. But here's the nice thing about it is, here's the title, Things That Go Bump in the Night. So what will they come up with then? Rita and I do this every week, do we not? We have our title, and we have no idea really what she's going to say and I'm going to say. And so we thought this would be a wonderful new event to add to our community and to let other people have
I'm
it.
with Reverend Diane. Thank you for spiritual nourishing me tonight. And I really like this concept that we get to hear from you guys. I think I'm really glad. I can tell it's going to be really powerful all the way.
Pardon me, I have laryngitis, but I think one of the wonderful things about hearing from all of you is that it gave all of us a chance to get to know you better, to have that connection, and also for you to be up here and to be speaking to us. I know that there might have been just a bit of an apprehension at some point, but you never showed it. It was wonderful to watch how you got right into your topic and brought it to us. So thank you.
Very proud of you. Very proud of you.
Dr. Peggy.
Anyone else
else
before
have
we
any
close?
thoughts?
Okay, I'll close this. Let's just take a moment to just bathe in the gratitude, as Charles was talking about, bathe in the gratitude of this expression of spirit, or whatever you want to call it, because life doesn't really need a name. So what I know about that is that tonight has unfolded in such perfection. I feel so honored and blessed in this moment to know that this thing called love, this thing called light, has moved through each and every one of us right here and right now. And I am so grateful for each and every one of these wondrous speakers that spoke from, I believe, from that divine place, that place of authenticity, that place of truth, that place of love, and dared to walk out and say, I am that I am. So I know that for each and every one of us, that paradise that lives right here within each and every one of us, that we do not take that paradise and hide it any longer. We allow paradise to just be open in everything that we say and do and express and how we live our lives. So yes, practice, practice, practice. And as we are practicing this thing called life, remember one thing, and that is that life, I know this to be the absolute truth, that life is always conspiring in our favor, no matter what is showing up. Whatever pain is showing up, honor it. It is still something to be known, something to be coming up to be healed. Loss, this wondrous day that allows us to remember those lives that did not die. They just continued in this expression that is called life. And that is for any loss in any of our lives, of people that we love and that we care about, to know that they are not gone. They are only gone from sight, but they are never gone because they live right here in the very center of this thing called love, and that is where each and every one of us lives. So I say thank you for this nourishment this evening. Thank you for this thing called life. And I just let it be as I just say thank you, thank you, thank you. And as together, as one, not separate, but as one, we affirm. And so it is.
Thank you.
Yes.
The next date is October 25th.
Thank you for looking that up.